This is a monument and a tribute to engineer Gustav Eiffel. Here's Big Ben, a tribute to Elizabeth II. And this is Mount Rushmore, a monument to the work of Charles Rushmore. And this is a monument to the work of the mayor of New York, Mamdani. When we say Mamdani, we think of decay and waste. We say rats and stench. We think of protecting Mamdani. And this has been going on in the streets of New York for a long time. For 2 weeks now, there's been a nauseating, putrid smell. Rats have appeared, cockroaches, and other parasites. Naturally, this even drives the homeless off the streets.
Dirty snowdrifts mixed with huge piles of garbage like a lingering hangover after a blizzard against the backdrop of endless cold. But these mountains of waste caused real outrage.
I would be shocked too. The mayor said that because of the snowfall, services are, as he put it, delayed by a day or two. The snowfall happened 2 weeks ago. The mayor is obviously lying. Well, it's clear that the delay in garbage collection is no more than 24 hours. Well, should we believe our own eyes or him? Now I'll tell and show you a few more shocking crimes, at least in my opinion.
The sanitation service is currently about 24 hours behind on garbage collection. I know they're working with everything they've got to catch up. And this will remain at the center of our attention because we want New Yorkers to be able to continue returning to their lives as they were before.
The election campaign is already over, where words are a substitute for action. Well, now the daily routine has begun. This is the life of the city's residents. Roads, garbage, water, heating, traffic lights, then safety, cost of living, convenience. This is daily and minute-by-minute life.
So I would like to raise the issue of the garbage crisis, which we still observe in certain areas of New York to this day. Where can you see these horrifying scenes of huge piles of garbage bags just stacked on top of each other? The initial excuse was that it was all because of the snowstorm, but that snowstorm happened about 2 weeks ago, and we're still seeing what's going on. The cleanup efforts, both for snow and garbage, have repeatedly moved incredibly slowly under Mamdani's administration in New York.
On one hand, the mayor said the garbage collection was delayed by just 1 day, but on the other hand, this is what we see. Because there was a storm, well, a snowstorm, so to speak, a lot of snow. But the snowfall was 2 weeks ago, and the garbage delay is supposedly just 1 day. Something just doesn't add up. Do you think so too, or do you think the mayor is lying? Or did all this pile up in just 1 day from the residents?
And the youth through the popularized in. But even from what I've seen, I know it's really disgusting, but maggots, yes, exactly, maggots and worms start living in these piles of disgusting garbage trash bags all over the city. But, ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, part of me still thinks that these trash bags should stay there forever. Why? Because they must serve as a permanent monument to the ideology of garbage and leftism in general, right? Basically, this is what you voted for. It's the warmth of collectivism that we're all celebrating right now, so why not just leave it there?
Maybe blogger Vance is right. Let it stay there and remind New Yorkers what jerks they are. No one shoved garbage down their throats. Some voted for him and others were just too lazy and didn't go vote at all. So now they've got what they deserve, as they say, a mayor they got hit with like a rake, voted in by people from the third world. Well, of course, for money. How else? And some even got free beer, lucky ones, whom he tried to charm by pretending he was one of them.
I'm talking about Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican grandmothers. Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses.
Well, so it was the Uzbek nurses and Yemeni taxi drivers who voted for him. They need the government to give them things. And of course, the more the better, the less the worse. They would like to get what the old-timers have, those who have been building this country for generations. And the newcomers are told, vote, and we will take by force from the whites and from the hopes and dreams of white neighborhoods, your neighborhoods. From white homes, we will completely remake them. Their neighborhoods will become your neighborhoods, even though neither you nor your parents have anything to do with this. Yes, this is robbery, everyone understands that, but you won't be jailed or punished for it. If you want someone else's money, just vote. And they voted, ruining their own future for a mess of pottage.
And then politically, if we talk about politics, what are the Democrats actually doing these days? Well, first of all, if you look at their main political priority, what they're actively fighting for right now on the streets of Minneapolis, it's essentially the idea of mass importing millions of people from failed third world societies. Because in their own opinion, they are so culturally enriching, they're better than Western people. Just look at their food, their languages, or something else. Somehow. All of this makes America better. And then these people, of course, strive to get into Western countries, whether it's America, Europe, or anywhere else, and they start turning Western countries into the same third world societies they came from. And of course, if you dare to criticize any of this, if you even remotely say, listen, can we enforce social norms? I'm kind of tired of third world behavior in my country. Of course, you'll be told that you're a racist, right? That's extreme bigotry. How dare you not accept and not show tolerance for the so-called diversity of other cultures? Don't you know that in many other third world countries on this planet, including the one where the Mamdani family comes from, it's still culturally normal? Not to have landfills and organized waste disposal away from the general population? They still live as if it's the Middle Ages or something like that, and it's just their cultural difference.
It's called cultural diversity. One person throws a piece of paper in the trash can and another spits, coughs up phlegm, sorry for saying this, right onto the pavement. As the Democrats say, it enriches our lives, it strengthens our country. And in Mongolia, for example, a woman steps a meter away from the sidewalk, squats down, and urinates normally. It doesn't bother anyone. So I'm still waiting for the day when they start bringing Mongolian women to Washington, Boston, and it would be nice to San Francisco too, because we lack cultural diversity and will be forced to run around with a scoop and clean up after them.
This image reflects the entire essence of the Democratic Party in 2026.
I made a video about how Danya's mom doesn't clean up trash in New York, and people were saying it's because of the city snow, because of the ice. Do you see this? This isn't because of anything else. Look, this is the Great Wall of Trash in New York. It's basically a national landmark now. You can't even see that there's a road on the other side. I'm about 6 feet tall. Look at this. It's as tall as me.
The first time I came to New York, I think it was around 1982. I ended up in the middle of a garbage collector's strike. It was really unpleasant, but now, without any strike, it's dozens of times worse.
I just want to congratulate our newly elected, amazing, wonderful mayor and also Mamdani's mom. Everything is under control, the streets are all clean, the garbage is all being collected, everything is on schedule. Every 3-4 weeks they come, pick up the garbage, we follow sanitary procedures. Cubes will look nice, just take some nose plugs in case it starts to smell because there's a lot, well, not that much garbage. Poquito, poquito.
Continuation.
And it's not easy. You can't watch this with frayed nerves. Add to that the rats, the bugs, the decay, the whole package. That's it. That's exactly what developed socialism smells like.
How symbolic it is that just a month after New York elected a socialist from a third world country, the city already looks like a socialist third world country. We didn't have to wait long, and maybe a lot of people expected that. Well, because Danny built his company on a lot of fantastic campaign promises, and he actually doesn't have authority over many of these issues. He won't be able to make New York look like, well, Somalia or Cuba or Venezuela or just some random failed state, which are often the original side effect, right? Well, of socialist or far-left ideas. Combined with the inability of third world countries to build functional states, that's impossible. Yeah, because you can't even control free buses or something like that. No, Mom. Danny basically said, I'll find another way to turn this city into a third world country, and I guess that's how it was done. But I'll come back to this point again. Yeah, why should the trash disappear? Why should people even have the right, if they voted for Danny's mom, to complain about the huge piles of garbage? Isn't that your ideology? Aren't you trying to turn America into a third world country, right? Of course, you support the mass importation of millions of people from these very failed societies, and when they get here, instead of ruthlessly stating, you need to assimilate into American society. You left because you didn't want a country like that, but now you're saying the opposite. Celebrate your culture, you don't need to assimilate, and, freely live on government benefits and continue your career. Cheating, deception, and extorting people, just like you did on the dirty, filthy, trash-filled streets of your country where you came from. And, we'll even make sure that the streets of this country remind you a lot of home, right? Basically, that's exactly what they're allowing to happen now. So, that's how things are, right? I mean, what does this scene even look like? It closely resembles Mogadishu, Somalia's capital.
Want to see what India looks like? Here as well. Accordingly, it's a very developed culture, different from ours, but we just don't want to live there like that. Do you want to live like this or like that? Do you want their culture to mix with ours? Do you want everyone, absolutely everyone, to steal and plunder everything to this state? Well, if you say that out loud, then who are you? A racist, a hater, is that what you are? Radistok Noitri. Mamdani brought bulldozer robots, but they have nowhere to put the snow they've collected from the street, so they gather it in one place, turn around and dump it somewhere else. They don't just scatter it. Piles, they take from one side, throw it to the other, take from one side, throw it to the other.
He just wedges himself into that damn bus lane and he keeps flying out and flying out. That's crazy.
It's completely idiotic. He's stomping around in the same spot. If this is artificial intelligence, then we have nothing to fear, ladies and gentlemen. We already know how to pretend we're working. But wait, there's more to come, although I understand it's almost impossible to imagine what else there could be. Here's what the CBS friendly to the communist mayor has to say about this.
The first month of Zoran Mamdani's term as mayor of New York is also behind us. So let's see how he did. Let's start with what might be the first serious test for the mayor. It's the extreme cold and snowstorm that hit the East Coast, as well as providing assistance to the most vulnerable at this time. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani stated that a total of 14 people died on the streets during the dangerous cold weather. I emphasize this because, according to the report, the deaths are causing intense scrutiny. Note how Mamdani uses the standard strategy for dealing with the homeless by asking if they need shelter, and his reluctance to remove people from the streets against their will. Except, as a last resort, pay attention to what was said.
That this is a standard strategy for working with the population. Standard means that this is common practice. This is what you are required to do in such situations. You have to remove these homeless people from the streets because of such cold weather.
In socialist New York, if homeless people have settled in front of your house or business and come to defecate at your doorstep, you can't call the police. You can call the police to remove them, but no one will actually remove them. You have to ask for them to be removed. They usually didn't care about your needs, right? Especially during the cold season. They get a hotel room and are asked if they want to stay there for a while. Let's say either in hotels or in some dormitories or in some special places. I don't know, I mean, they try to persuade them saying it will be cold, you won't have enough blankets, you might freeze. Kind of as a reason to go. And sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't, and so on. So, in extreme cases in New York, the mayor used to be able to, that is, allow the police to take them away for their own good. but it was a terrible act of violence against the homeless, and as they say, everyone just ignored it. For some reason, the authorities often had this in mind, so Mamdani completely forbade doing anything against the will of the homeless, even if they were drunk, even if they were insane, even if they were violent. And don't you think that when God wants to punish, he takes away reason? And as a result of the wise decision of Kормchev, the current New York Kормchev, about 12.5 of these very homeless people died. But besides the deaths, Mamdani can't even organize. The cleaning of snow, clearing the streets of snow. I don't know what it means to organize. I don't know about before him. I know that before him there was also snow once or twice in New York. It was always cleaned up better, worse, faster, whatever, but it was cleaned up. It didn't just sit there for days and nights. So maybe there's a reason, and Mamdanev's reason is that he fired the people who knew how to do it and replaced them with agitators, those who know how to agitate. They don't know how to clear snow, they don't know how to fix things, they don't know how to organize, but they know how to agitate, and as they say, they're really stirring things up in New York.
And there's still cleaning up to do. Here's what the actor Michael Rappaport had to say about it.
Look at this, look at this. This poor guy won't get out until spring. Look at the mess a week after the blizzard.
This is the result of your voting. Ladies and gentlemen, dear moral degenerates, I don't mean the entire population of New York right now. And what else is going to happen? Mamdani hasn't even straightened his shoulders yet. This atlas has only just started to move, just twitched once. Even Gavrila Popov and Anatoly Sobchak in St. Petersburg were better than Mamdani. At least they didn't appoint people with absolutely no experience at all to official positions. I mean, any kind of experience, but still experience. Let's say she's a very good lesbian. Oh yes, a good lesbian. And let's appoint him as the head of the fire department, or her. Well, that's how it is in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, the heads, 2 deputies, are lesbians, and most of their deputies have nothing to do with fire safety at all. And the one who's the head, she's slept with the mayor, that's fine, why not? You have to promote your own people. By the way, here's another actress who is thrilled about the new era coming to the world capital. The new era is coming. Here's her tweet.
I'm sitting in a taxi trying to get to a meeting. The trip was supposed to take 20 minutes, but it's already been 1 hour and 10 minutes, and time keeps passing. The streets are in terrible condition, even though it hasn't snowed for 5 days, and they still haven't been cleared. The poor ambulance is basically stuck in a huge traffic jam, and the sirens are wailing. I'm praying for the person who needs emergency help right now. I've lived here for 15 years and nothing like this has ever happened before. Snowplows always worked around the clock so the city could function normally.
And she continues, I would like to understand what happened. Deborah, dear, sweet, good Jewish girl from Brooklyn, by the way, who played Grace in the sitcom Will Ampersand Grace, won a Golden Globe, won an Emmy, starred in, well, let's say A Walk in the Clouds, The Mothman Prophecies, Along Came Polly, The Wedding Date. How is it, The Groom, Fluttering, or something like that? Oh, no, The Wedding Date. Yes, The Wedding Date. Dear, wonderful actress, it was you who campaigned for Biden first, and then for Harris. It was you who fought for gay rights. You founded the I Am a Voter Project, and people like you, just like you, exactly the same, right? They keep New York in the hands of the Democratic Party no matter what. And it was you, even if you were for Cuomo at first, who brought Mamdani to power. You brought Mamdani to power. So the question is, what happened? Most likely the answer is as follows. What happened is exactly what you were shouting about everywhere. What happened was equality and brotherhood. just like it already happened in 30 countries, including the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics Vietnam, Romania, Albania, Mongolia, Ethiopia, North Korea, and East Germany. Should I continue the list, or will you figure it out yourself, oh my god? That's why the subtitles are by Dimatorzok, so let's move on. Not sport of us to semi-Soviet. Akels and Isnoibes. The thing is, in capitalism, without understanding what capitalism is or what socialism is, you just can't do anything. You can't just cut your leg. Okay, maybe the example isn't very straightforward. The snow will melt, the trash will be cleaned up eventually. Don't worry, someday they'll clean it up. But then the boiler houses will stop working. The lines at the Department of Motor Vehicles will get so long that you'll start slipping bribes through the back door. And then, the police will just start taking bribes right on the streets because their bosses will be demanding kickbacks. Paying for good spots, you don't bring them in Moscow, let's put it that way, just like it used to be in Georgia before Saakashvili. I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm sure it is happening. In 2 years, in a year, maybe even in half a year, it will become routine, it will become normal. And you'll be saying, the policeman had a tough childhood, he had a tough childhood. Such a thug, Karchak, has eaten his face fat, because even when he comes in to eat, they give it to him for free. In corrupt states, policemen don't pay. Yeah, that's how it is. As soon as they start taking bribes. And in New York, the very first place where they'll start taking bribes, maybe in many cities, maybe it'll get organized in several cities, but in New York, they'll start taking bribes first. Because a New York minute is the shortest minute in the world.
I used to live in New York. I have relatives who still live in New York, and it's not like this hasn't happened before. If there are record low temperatures, fine, but when it comes to snow, it's no different from any other year. And what is the common denominator? It's the leadership, it's Mamdani.
You still haven't realized that it's not the person, but the methodology. Even the philosophy, I would say, that's what matters. The common denominator in Yemen, where there's no snow, and in Mongolia, where there's plenty of snow, and in Somalia, and in the most industrial city in the world, in the environment, in the heart, I would even say, of capitalism, in the city of New York.
New York, when you have an incompetent leader at the helm, like Mam, who has never held any positions or been a leader in his life, this is what it leads to. He has absolutely no idea how to handle basic tasks. These are basic things that happen in New York every year when it snows. There are certain things that are done every year to prepare and to act after the snow falls, so that people in New York can get to work, so that emergency services can reach people, and that includes paramedics, ambulances, and police officers. When the roads are in such a condition, when someone's life is on the line, every second counts. And if you can't get from point A to point B, and it's just a 5 or 10 minute trip, but it takes an hour or even more, that's a huge problem. It's a matter of safety.
But that's just about the storms. The mayor also promised free bus rides. That's right, an important part of his campaign, but now there are complaints. Fare evaders cause huge losses to New York, and if you add subway fare evaders, last year it cost the city about $900 million, and now, oh my God.
That is everyone.
Well, absolutely everything that Zakharan said. Zakharan there, in Mamdani, he was just talking. Just like that, really. With no basis at all, no reality whatsoever, just making things up. Lying, or lying. Well, there's also the option that he had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. He just had no idea. He and those who pushed him didn't care at all how you would live or how many of you would die. Because the ambulance or firefighters wouldn't reach you in time. They don't care about anything at all unless it concerns their own wallet, their lives, their children, or their mistresses. Sometimes some of them care about their mistresses. Or a villa in Europe, if it doesn't have anything to do with the villa or any other place where it's fashionable to have a villa and take your mistress there. You say Putin is a beast, right? But how is Mamdani any better? I mean, I'm not saying Putin isn't a beast. He is, of course. But Mamdani, he's no better. He just hasn't had the chance to show it yet. He doesn't kill people on purpose. He's not bloodthirsty. He just kills some homeless people and, well, whoever else. The medical situation was bad. We needed to get there urgently, but the ambulance didn't make it. Mamdani just wants power and money. That's all he wants for himself, and it has nothing to do with you. It's the same with Putin. Well, he doesn't kill on purpose. I mean, of course he kills on purpose. But it's not because he wants to kill. He just wants power and money. That's all. Putin, Zelensky, Mamdani, Ayato, Olekhovna, Maduro, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un. Here I made a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Jong-un kills on purpose. He just enjoys it. He likes to watch hungry dogs tear apart people who are stripped naked and smeared with grease. So, people who disobeyed something, did something at the wrong time, or planned something, and somehow their thoughts were read on their faces, they fell asleep. During his speech and so on, they didn't stand and clap long enough. The one who stops clapping first, before he raises his hand. That person will most likely be fed to the dogs, and he himself is Kim Jong-un. He will be sitting in the hall, and right next to him will be the whole family of the one being eaten by the dogs. That's why he not only likes to watch it, but also to observe those whose husbands, fathers, children, and so on are being devoured by hungry dogs. Well, but he's an extreme case, a bit of an extreme. The others, I don't know, maybe they would also enjoy it, or, on the contrary, they would be incredibly embarrassed by it. Just killing in passing, for some, out of sight, out of mind. They think what happens to you isn't their concern. So, by the way, they all say the same words: justice, equality, mercy. I don't know if they say the word mercy, but justice, equality, honesty, so to speak. They all say those things. That's why, gentlemen, it's so important to start distinguishing words, to separate words from reality, and to learn. This is why it's so important to learn to think critically and to be able to find the essence. It's also incredibly important to try to calculate, at least 2 steps ahead, the real basis behind politicians' promises and what it will lead to, at least 2 steps ahead, the consequences of the proposed actions. This is important for you, not for me, for you, for me too, but for you most of all. I don't live in New York. By the way, if you find a link to my book In Search of You in the description under the video, first of all, it's an adventure story with elements of science fiction, and secondly, it's a school of anti-Marxism for you and your children. Children, I mean 13, 14 years old and up. In Russian, we give it as a free gift, and along with it, a free subscription to daily 10-minute videos on the same topic. That's what will be available, so to speak. If you subscribe, you give your email, and you'll receive one of these videos with your coffee every day. You can listen, discuss, and enjoy it. There are a lot of different interesting stories being told there. So yes, the English version is sold on Amazon for about $4.90 or $4.99, I think. Well, something like that, and the Russian version, accordingly, is also available for download. It's not a physical book, it's an e-book. So if after reading this you want to give a gift to your English-speaking children, grandchildren, relatives, or friends, you'll know that you can find it on Amazon. Yes, Mamdani, let's get back to Mamdani. He lied in New York to 2 categories of people: educated pseudo-intellectuals and uneducated but clever hustlers. The hustlers understood that they were being offered a share of stolen goods, But they didn't have to pay for it, and they weren't responsible for it. If anything happened, they weren't responsible. They just handed it over. How could they know? They fully supported the idea. Pseudo-intellectuals. They suspected that it was about a robbery, but thought it wouldn't affect them. So it turns out that's how it is. The late ambulance, the firefighters who never arrived, the absence of police during the robbery, all of that affected them too. And the further it went, the more and more. Less police, more robberies, fewer firefighters, more fires, and so on. More chaos on the streets, the ambulance doesn't come. And every day it will affect their children, their grandchildren, themselves, their loved ones, their neighbors. The truth is, if this happens, and when it happens, the mass media of the United States of America will stay silent about it. Like a fish against ice. Absolutely, just like that fish in that ice. Closing ranks around communism, communo-fascism, well, the other side, so that, God forbid, they don't find out about it, that once again and again, it's socialism that is urgently trying to become communo-fascism. Let's call it that because it's unknown. Then we go, move to the left or to the right. I don't mean politically right now, so to speak. We'll go this way, we'll go that way. It'll either be communism or fascism. There's basically no third option, so in order to define where we're going, I say communo-fascism. But that's not quite right. They differ from each other so that it can't be done. The other side, as I said, won't be there. And maybe they'll vote for it. Who is the Mamdani equivalent in the White House? So this experiment, ladies and gentlemen, is important. And then when people talk about it, it's even more important. That's all. Goodbye. And I wish you to get rid of Mamdani and those like him as soon as possible.